All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the alaracanfieldshow, the Awakened Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And today, my good friend Beth Rachel is back with us. She was on last season, and we had a wonderful show, high vibe, wonderful processes, wonderful wisdom as well. So I'm so glad that she's back with us today. We're talking about the art of receiving. So some of what we're going to talk today about includes, it's always different, right? But it includes how people experience blocks to receiving, how self-sabotage is often actually a protective mechanism, how safety plays into receiving, how does allowing play into receiving, and why receiving is not a question of worth, but of inner alignment, and when we are receiving but not perceiving it. We're going to be taking live caller questions, and Beth is going to be facilitating a guided visualization as well. So for those of you who do not know Beth, like I said, she was on last season. We had a wonderful time, but she is here to support humanity in activating the original human genome and divine Earth blueprint. As a participant in the original planetary design and creation of the Earth, she draws upon her soul and cellular memory to help guide humanity back into alignment. And much of her work is in lifting and integrating the veil between the conscious and unconscious collective human awareness and creating harmony between densities and higher frequencies. And when I worked with Beth last season, before the show last season, oh my goodness, I was so surprised by what came through, how accurate, how the process was like exactly what I needed and more that I didn't even know I needed at the time. But when it all came through, it's like, oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. So I'm so excited that Beth is going to be sharing a process with us today, and you have the chance to work with her live one-on-one. So if you do have a question for Beth, please do raise your hand, or you can probably, type a question in the chat, but we'll see. But definitely raise your hand. That's much easier than anything else, because sometimes we like to speak to you, right? And we like to hear your voice, or we have questions, etc. So if you can, that'd be great. So please join me in welcoming Beth to the show. Beth, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Alara. It's wonderful to be here.
So I'm excited because we had a wonderful show last season, and because you are still fairly new to our community, can you just tell a little bit more about yourself? Basically, like how you work, I think would be important, just to share a little bit about how you work with people.
Yeah, I work with people primarily on bridging the space between the subconscious and conscious mind. I do that through our internal and external processes. So it's not like hypnosis where you're, working through blocks. It's more expansive than that. And we're working toward, as we bridge these portions of our consciousness, this is how we step into the more expanded version of ourselves. So a lot of what I do is in going and collecting the parts and pieces of ourselves within our shadow experiences or perceptions, and embracing, so that we can embrace the whole of who we are. And I have the unique ability to be able to see into the consciousness of individuals and the consciousness of humanity as a whole, meaning that the places that we would rather kind of tuck or hide away are very easily and readily visible to me. And so I support people in working through those pieces so that they can come forward in a more whole and complete way for themselves and for humanity.
And so now today we're talking about receiving, right? And the art of receiving. And a lot of times people don't really realize that they're not fully receiving. Like we all say, I'm receiving, I'm allowing, I'm willing, all those wonderful words. But energetically, and at the subconscious level, we may not be receiving. So let's talk a little bit about what is receiving, and how, especially at this time, we really need to get clarity on receiving so that we can, as we receive, be of service to ourselves, humanity, and the planet.
Right. Well, what's interesting is that obviously energy is always happening, right? And is in constant flow. And we are energy. So theoretically, on some level, right, we are constantly both giving and receiving, because it's impossible not to and live in existence, be a part of existence. That being said, we also simultaneously have these experiences where we don't perceive that we are receiving and or allowing. That word receive is also really loaded for people. There's tons of attachments to it. And one of those attachments is like this belief or this concept that like the other end of receiving is somehow is like failure, not living up to those who receive. We have these ideas that like those who know how to receive well, are somehow better or more successful. And receiving is, it's not, I hear people, often talk about, their affirmations in regards to receiving or, to your point, I'm open to receiving. I'm ready to receive. So the conscious mind is ready to receive and or step into allowing is another way to say that without so much attachment of sort of the success or failure paradigm to it. But there's a piece of our unconscious that is not actually ready to be in that same position as much as the conscious part of us may want to be. So while we end up in this sort of position of like, am I a success? Am I a failure because of how I am allowing myself to receive? Moving it out of that paradigm and into the paradigm that I feel is more accurate, which is really about safety and how safe do you actually feel to receive that which you consciously desire, right? And this comes down to there's different parts of us. We are not just one aspect of our personality. That aspect that has that desire and that goal and is moving toward it is not the only aspect. It just might be the one that is most to the forefront of the conscious mind, right? So it's the one we mostly identify with. But when we drop in a little bit more deeply to the different parts of ourselves, we find that maybe not all of them are on board, because maybe not all of them feel safe having or receiving that thing that we consciously desire. So that's sort of the first kind of, sticky point place, I think.
And that's the thing too, is like that, not feeling safe, not feeling protected in receiving is because, or could be because of past lives, ancestral stuff in our DNA, etc. But because like right now we would say, no, I'm perfectly fine. There's nothing for me to fear. I'm perfectly safe. Nothing can happen to me if I receive this, right? But that energy from the past may still be in our field, in our cells, etc. That is still affecting us, right?
Yeah, well, what I'm talking about is less about from the genetics or from a past life, although that can happen too. What I'm actually talking about are things from this life that have impacted our perception of that thing that we want to receive, whatever it is, right? So let's say that, I have a goal to, this is, very arbitrary, but let's say I have a goal to be an actress. And that's what I want to work on, receiving this role that I'm trying out for, right? And part of me, my conscious mind, is like totally on board. This is what I want. This is what I've been working toward. I'm doing my manifestations. I'm doing my affirmations. I'm doing this person's meditation, that person's meditation. Okay, well, when they stop for a minute and actually go inside, what they may find is that, when they were 3, they went on stage with, the Girl Scout troop or whatever it was, and they had horrible stage fright and was this completely traumatic experience. They wet their pants and they were made fun of. And again, this is arbitrary, but what I'm, illustrating here is that there's some traumatic something attached to it from this life experience that is saying the opposite, right? Yeah. No, that's not safe to go be an actress and be on stage, because this happened last time I was on, I remember being on stage, or one time when I was on stage. It doesn't even matter, right? So the approach there is to work with that part that's holding on to that being the likely, conclusion, rather than the likely conclusion being the success that this conscious mind is affirming and manifesting for, right? This other part is the part that needs to be talked to, and a conclusion needs to be found.
Yeah.
And some healing done. So yes.
I understand that. Yeah, totally. Because as you were relating that story, it's like, oh yeah, I definitely had some issues or stories like that when I was younger. Yep. I can see why I would be afraid to show up. I would be afraid to be in public, definitely. And so obviously I've healed up, because here I am. But
yeah, here you are, right? Yeah.
But still, I think I still held on to it for a long time before I, decided to do this, so definitely experiences that we've had in childhood, not just experiences that we've personally experienced, but what we've seen as well, right? With our parents and other people in our lives.
Absolutely. It all affects our perception, right? And the different parts perception of possible outcomes.
Yeah. So it's important to, when you do have a desire, a wish, a manifestation that you want to look at, and if it's not coming to fruition, it's important to look at, okay, what could it be, right? Asking the question, what, it's not me, it's not what I'm doing, but what else could it be from before, right? Because we always go to blaming ourselves. We're not doing enough. I'm not doing the right thing. I'm not doing enough. I have to do more, right? And even, once we realize, okay, I'm doing everything right. Yep, I'm doing everything right. So there's something else. And we sometimes have that blind spot until, like we forget things that have happened in our childhood until somebody brings it up. Right.
Right. I think that oftentimes it's not, well, always, I would say it's not really about whether or not we're doing it right or we're doing it wrong. It's about whether or not, but that is one way that we experience not receiving, right? When we're not receiving what we're manifesting for, we start to feel we're doing something wrong. That's a really, especially when we're looking around and we're seeing that other people are doing their manifestations, it's working out for them. Obviously, there must be something wrong with the way I'm doing it or with me. So that's one of the ways we start to, experience those blocks. Is there something wrong with me? Another way is that I'm somehow unworthy, or I don't deserve it, or we think that like we haven't accomplished enough. We haven't done enough yet. So these are all ways that we start to experience these blocks, is this idea that like there's, again, it's about like success or failure. And there's always this, we haven't reached this benchmark yet, right? Special category benchmark where you start receiving. And more often than not, if we were to actually really go inside and check inward, there is a part of us that just doesn't feel safe or ready for that thing that the conscious part is really striving for. So it's not a matter of finding what we're doing wrong. It's a matter of, is this really right for all parts of me?
And at this time.
At this time, absolutely.
Yeah. But sometimes we get so what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my goodness. Like we're so hooked in a story that this is what I want. I know this is what I want. I feel it in my heart. It feels right. I've always wanted this, even when I was a child, blah, 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 right? We say, and we make it so significant, right? But just because you want something may not be the right thing for you, right? I mean, and that's it's hard for us to get that, because we've been told that everything you think, and especially if you have the same thought over and over again, the same desire over and over again, it's meant for you. I don't know if that's true anymore.
Well, it's more complex than that. That's one aspect of it, right? But that's a very like mind over matter kind of thing. That's very much, which we are so much more than just mind, first of all. And second of all, the mind is actually so much more than our present understanding of it is. And one of those complexities is that there is not just one aspect to the personality or one personality. So one single desire. It's just the desire that we're conscious of. There's a whole, network of aspects of our personality that work, and are together and are interconnected. And we're only paying attention to this one. And we're only taught to pay attention to this one. So yes, if something is not manifesting into our reality, it absolutely could be a timing piece, because not everybody, all the parts inside of our mind, of the aspects of ourselves, are ready for it. Just that one aspect is. And more than likely that one aspect that thinks that this is what I have to do to be successful. So, the more that we dive into the full expanse of our consciousness, the more we find what is really in alignment. Right? Rather than the idea or projection, what we think is in alignment. We begin to accept and then allow the receiving for what is really in harmony for the whole of ourselves.
So I have an issue with the word alignment, I'll be honest.
Sure. Somebody else typed in they have an issue with the word block. So let's go at both of them. Yeah.
So, the whole alignment thing, right? I think in this industry, especially, people need to get clear about what alignment truly means. Because
what does it mean for you?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what does it mean for me? So for me, I think it means that when I'm feeling okay at one with myself, happy with myself, content with myself as I am, then I'm in alignment with my life, with my soul purpose, all of that. I'm in alignment with my higher self, with my purpose, all of that. I'm in alignment. When I'm not happy, or I'm not satisfied, I'm dissatisfied, I'm not in alignment. But does that truly mean that I'm not in alignment with that goal or desire? No, not necessarily, right? So it's not about the actual desire or anything else, but it's like, when you are in alignment with who you truly are, with your higher self and your soul, then everything else seems to flow with more ease. Then your desires are also of a higher vibration than just the mind 3D. I have to have this here and now. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm just talking off the cuff.
No, I mean, it sounds like, you're hearing from a lot of people in this let's call it industry, in this area. And it sounds like your takeaway on a lot of the perspective of alignment is to either be in, like, you're either in that sort of that channel of allowing or not. That's sort of what I'm taking from what you're saying, and correct me if I'm misunderstanding. But when I talk about alignment, I'm talking simply about aligning with something. So, for you and I to agree on something, that's an alignment. For my inner parts to all agree on something, that's an alignment. For there to be two dots in a straight line, that's an alignment, right? So that's the way that that I'm utilizing it, is more sort of in a colloquial way, rather than this sort of industry term. Yeah.
For me, it's that inner spiritual alignment. That's for me. That's what alignment means. So
and as far as like Yeah, sort of almost using alignment as sort of interchangeable with like your journey or,
Yeah.
your soul's journey, right? Which we are always on our soul journey.
Yeah.
You can't not be on your soul journey. We can take detours,
And we
which
do.
I think, and we do.
Yeah.
But are they really detours, right?
No,
Because we
they're
take away
not.
something from everything. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, sometimes the road winds and sometimes the road is straight, but
It's never
um,
straight.
but we can
It's
always find
always winding
alignment.
around.
We can always find alignment with things as we're moving through.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of more, yeah. And then somebody else had written and they didn't like the word block, and I'm just curious if we aren't receiving what we want, it could be because the universe is sending us something better. Well, you're a co-creator. So this is another thing that happens with receiving that I witness, that it's up to the universe.
Mhm.
That I've been praying to God, I've been praying to the universe, I've been telling it what I need, telling it what I want, and it's not responding. Or I'm not getting this mirroring back, right? And you're a co-creator. So this is not just about God or the universe, however you want to put it, responding to your request. This is about, and if you don't like the word block, you can I like to use the word sticky point. Whatever is sticky, so it's not allowing that energy to come through. Those sticky points that's us. That's us, and that's what's in between us and the receiving that we would like to allow. There's a very strange screen in the upper right hand, my upper right hand corner.
Oh yeah,
You
it's
see that?
yeah. Randy's screen is being weird. Randy, your screen is being weird.
It's very distracting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so use what terminology I think works for you. Ultimately, if we're triggered on a term, I think it's an opportunity to clarify the term, which is just more sticky points, right? It's just more clearing of the path to feeling and knowing the interconnectedness of all. And you're a part of that. We're a part of that. Each one of us is a part of that, and we are co-creating together. So,
and can I just add something really quick? Just because I'm going to forget. So this came to my mind just now. And so for those of you who may be music buffs, I am not, and I do not remember lyrics, and I do not remember people who sing, like, the names or anything. But there was a song back in the day. I don't know who sings it. Okay, so don't even bother asking. But part of the lyric, it was like, thank God for unanswered prayers, right? So it's the same thing as thank God for not making my wish come true, because yes, I got something better. Look at this beautiful life I have. If I would have gotten that which I wanted before, oh my God, I would not have had this, right? So that is something that I always, it comes to me sometimes, because it's like, sometimes we're like, our mind is set on something, right? It's not our heart, it's not our soul, it's not, it's our mind that wants something, right? Our ego wants something. And then when we don't get it, there are many times when I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't get it then. Thank God I got it now, not then, because I wasn't ready then, right? Or the timing was not right. So that actually happened for me once, where the timing was not right. I'm thank God I didn't get it then, because I don't know what I would have done, right? So it's like sometimes when we are wanting to receive something, whatever it happens to be, and we're open to receiving all that wonderful stuff, we're in alignment, because our goal is in alignment with what we want, and blah blah blah, and then we don't get it. I guess it comes back down to the timing thing I talked about earlier. Sometimes the timing is just much more magical in another time and space, which is what I've experienced, where if I got something later on than what I wanted, it turned out to be much better, more magical, with flow. Like, it was like, oh my God, so easy, right? But at the time when I was asking for it, I was like stumbling and obstacles and, oh my God, block after block after block. So, I totally understand, Lori, what you're talking about the block, right? But the block was, it wasn't really a block. It was just not the right time. Yes, that was what, like what I wanted to receive. I did get, eventually, but not when I wanted it originally. So sometimes we have to be willing to go with the flow. Sometimes we have to be willing to let go of control of how things show up. You want to talk about that? And if anybody knows that song that I'm talking about, you can type it in the chat. But I remember it was something like, thank God for unanswered prayers. I don't know who sings it, but it's a country-ish kind of song. I'm so bad. It's so embarrassing how bad I am with music and lyrics and musicians, singers, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we could talk about the timing piece first for a moment, in that because we are living in a co-created reality, and our souls interact with other wants, needs, desires, creations, right? So that's what that timing piece sometimes ends up being, right? Is because certain energies have to work together in order to give us what we receive. So I think that's what you're talking about. So just to speak to that for a moment is just, allowing those different parts of the co-creation that are necessary in order for us to receive the desire that we're asking for, sometimes need more time to line up. And our soul always knows the right timing as well. And things look different from that level than they do from this level. And we are so programmed to be in the mind and in the instant gratification, right? So it's allowing for a different pace sometimes. And stepping outside of that expectation of instant manifestation, because sometimes it is, and sometimes there's those other co-creative pieces involved in the receiving process. So just to kind of speak to that for a moment, and then what you had asked to speak to something else. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting what it was now.
I don't know. I lost it as well.
Okay. Well, I'll jump over here, which was, what would you say about being clear about what one wants, have desire? What? Okay. Yeah. Sometimes, our desires are constantly changing and evolving, right? We have like those big goals that are within our journey that don't change. Sometimes the timing of them changes, or how they manifest change. But a lot of times our desires are sort of, less major life goal desires are change. And sometimes we don't know what we truly desire until we manifest one thing and we're like, oh no, yeah, that's not actually what I wanted. That doesn't actually feel good. Or, oh God, that was like so much different in my mind. And now that I'm experiencing it, now that I've received it, I realize I don't actually want that. That's not what I thought it was. So, that's part of just getting more and more clear on what we wish to create, just to speak to Layla's question.
But that's okay, I think, Beth, because it's like we don't always know 100% how things are going to show up when we have a desire, right? So when we want something, we don't know exactly how it's going to show up or how we're going to feel about it when we're just thinking about it. But I still feel like, when we, if there's something that we want and, it makes sense or whatever, take action on it. I've done this many times where I've wanted something, took action on it. It's like, oh, nah, it was not quite right. That was not quite what I wanted, so it's okay. But that's how you learn. That's how you get experiences, is from taking those actions. Then you know what not to do next time, or it's like, oh, now I can tweak it. But if you're just thinking about it all the time, nothing's going to happen. You're not even going to get new insights. You're not even going to get new opportunities around that thing because, you haven't moved on it. That's my opinion. Go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, well, that's what she's asking basically is, you know, how does she really know what she wishes to create? And that's when I'm saying, you know, sometimes we don't know what we truly desire until we have something in front of us. We have contrast. Contrast gives us a lot. And depending on how your life has gone, and what kind of interpersonal relationships you've had, it can be difficult for some people who have spent their lives enmeshed in other people's energies to know the difference between what they really desire and what another desires, and to have that kind of individuation. So that may also be part of your process right now, Layla, is finding your desire amongst the desires of all of those around you.
Layla, do you want to unmute yourself in case there's more to that you wanted to share? Because you're right, Beth, sometimes we don't, like, you know, am I wanting this for me, or am I wanting this because this is what I should want? Or is this what my dad would want? Or is this, you know, like, do other people want this for me? Right. And so getting clear on it, yes, it's truly me. I want this for me. And also, like, not from fear or lack or scarcity, but I want this because it's, you know, going to move me forward or whatever happens to be. Go ahead, Layla.
Hi. It's funny
Hi.
because I actually had a situation one time where another person's thought came into my mind, but I didn't know it was their thought. And I created something where they came and lived with me, but I didn't even realize till like months later that that wasn't even my thought.
Mm.
And it was an extremely painful experience. And then those things build up because I've done a lot of those things. And the pain of the discourse in the relationships kind of have me, you know, withdraw and separate and isolate. And then, you know, what you receive comes through relationship. And I feel like I don't have enough relationships to receive. And I'm also afraid to really be like truly authentic in my relationships. And I don't always know, even if in relationship, the person asked me, well, what do you, like, somebody wanted me to take them to the airport. And they were like, well, what can I give you, you know, monetarily for that? I didn't know. I don't know. And I go in and I don't get the answer.
So nice to see
It's
you,
a lot
by
of
the way.
confusion. Thanks.
I didn't realize who you were until I saw your face. So nice to see you. Yeah, you know, this is like a very like 3D you know, reference. Have you ever seen that movie Runaway Bride with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere?
Many years ago, I don't remember it.
Okay, well, she keeps getting really close to marrying someone and then at the last minute runs.
Okay.
And at some point or another, you know, Richard Gere says something to her about how he doesn't think she was really afraid of the man. She was really afraid because she didn't, or not knowing who they were, she didn't know who she was. And he started to ask, he's a reporter, he started asking each one of these men how she liked her eggs cooked. And they all said something different. One said poached, one said scrambled, one said over medium. The point being was that she didn't have enough of her own individuated identity to know how she wanted her eggs cooked. So she was just absorbing, right? Meshing, intertwining with however that individual that she was in close relationship with,
Yes,
like their eggs. So this is what you're talking, you know, so it's like I said, it's kind of a cheesy example, right? But it's very like 3D in this world. What we're talking about is enmeshment. And my guess is if you take a little bit more of a dive into your childhood, you'll find the source of some of that relating in an enmeshed way, right? Being entangled with the wants, needs, and desires of those around you comes from childhood experiences where that was necessary to survive or navigate difficult situations.
Yes.
And yeah, so going and healing that, right? That's where getting in touch with those inner parts and doing healing with them. That's another aspect, is being able to go and that would be a reason why those parts would also feel unsafe to receive in a certain way. But first you gotta start unwinding, disentangling the enmeshment, right? So that you know what you even truly want, because you can't go asking for and then receiving if it's not what you truly want first. So going and working through those enmeshments, helping those inner children, those inner parts, the young ones, to understand that it is safe to disentangle, because you no longer need that same enmeshment in order to survive or navigate the difficulty, because you're not a child anymore and you're not in those same relationships anymore, at least not in the same way, right? The dynamics have changed, but those parts are still kind of frozen and confused.
Yeah.
So working through that is going to give you a lot. Then you can start trying all the different kinds of eggs and figuring out, like, okay, actually, which way do I like? And again, just an example, but that's the next step, right? Is as you start to disentangle those parts and pieces, then go try some things and see how they feel to you without those other people's attachment. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think that might be part of the isolation, is to be by myself so I can gain some of that.
Yes, I'm sure it's to help give you some of that perspective, right? Because then you have the actual physical space and some of the more psychic space too, to start doing that, right? But
I just find as soon as I get back in relationship with someone, it's all about them. Of course, narcissistic parents, it's all about them. So I hear you.
Yeah. So some deep healing to start really unwinding that.
Yeah.
And then trying it out. Playing. There's a fun part in there. It's like once you disentangle that, it's like that part of you that never got to play and discover what it is she likes gets to do that. And I also just, want to comment on, you said that the receiving comes through other people. That's not true. And that's a place that you want to disentangle for sure. That's what it has been. That's been true for you because of the enmeshment. But no, the receiving comes from source. And yes, it navigates through the different aspects of creation in order to get to you. But if you're thinking of it as only coming through other individuals, it's limiting how it can get to you. Whereas if you're asking source to bring it to you, it's got infinite possibilities of ways to get to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's just another like disentanglement piece for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's for everybody. Thank you, Layla.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
I just want to add one small little thing. So when I turned 40, right? 40, at that point, I said, that's it. Now that I'm 40, I'm going to do what I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want. I'm not doing, because before that, I was the good daughter, the good mom, the good wife, did everything that everybody else wanted. It's like, enough. I'm going to now do what is right for me. People did not like that. Like my family and friends, they did not like that. It's like, what is she doing? What do you mean? It's like, but this is not right. It's like, it's right for me. It's right for me. I'm going to do what's right for me. It's a different way of being when you start to put yourself first instead of, always for other people, right? Of course, when there was an emergency of some sort with the kids or my husband now, of course, they come first because it's an emergency, right? But beyond that, I come first. I get to choose what I like, what I don't like. I get to choose where I'm going to go, where I'm not going to go, etc. I get to choose. And giving myself that that power, that permission even, was so liberating. I made so many different choices once I made that stand for myself. Did I make mistakes? Of course. But, more often than not, they were not mistakes. More often than not, it's been more freeing and freedom. And after a while, my parents said, okay, fine, we're just not going to say anything because she's not going to listen to us anyways. So, yep. Right. So, it's like, they're like, well, she's not going to listen to us anyway, so we're not going to bother saying anything. Perfect. I love it. So now they don't, except for on the rare occasion, my mom might say, okay, don't get mad. It's like, all right. But I just have to ask you a little question. I just want to know. All right. So they've already said, okay, don't get mad, don't get upset, don't, it's like, all right. And then I will explain my, not my choice or anything, but I'll be like, yes or no, like, no, yes, okay, maybe, we'll see. Does that make sense? But I am thinking for myself. I'm not thinking about what a good daughter would do, or a good mother, or a good wife, or anything like that. Right? Sometimes it's hard when you have kids, granted. Sometimes it's hard when you have parents, granted. But still, they'll get over it. Parents will get over it. Children, I'm not so sure, but parents will get over it.
Getting to that point first where you're disentangling from the enmeshment, so you know the difference between what you want and what they want. That's your first step, because otherwise you can't stand up for your desire if it's not disentangled, right? So that, and then what Alara said, then you can really stand in that place and exercise it and see how it feels. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Layla.
We have a comment over here by Manisha that this actually brings up a point that I was wanting to mention earlier, which is, she's sharing a story about how, her son wanted to manifest this job he was offered with this bank that, he didn't end up getting the job. I'm summarizing. So didn't end up getting the job, and it turned out the bank actually was pretty corrupt. So it brings up the point of, sometimes these things that we desire don't actually manifest because they're not actually in our highest good. So that is another aspect here where, again, if we step out of just looking at things from what we want in our mind to what the soul actually knows is in our, highest good, our soul is in communication with all the different parts and aspects of our psyche and personality, right? And our soul is also has a different vantage point. So that's where that piece comes in of like, oh, maybe it actually isn't for my highest and best good, and being able to trust that. And then, because sometimes the evidence doesn't come till a little bit later of like, why, so yeah, that, is an aspect to manifesting. It doesn't speak directly to allowing ourselves to receive. Sometimes those two things can get tangled up, right? And also there's a difference between a need to be fulfilled and a desire to be fulfilled. Some might say every desire is a need, but I would say it's a little different, right? Like, you need housing, you need food, you need money in this world. Those are needs. Those are basic needs, right? Versus I desire to, take my career to the next level. I desire to meet the man of my dreams, the woman of the partner of my dreams. I desire, not that those are less important, because absolutely, that's why I'm saying some people would say, there's a difference between need and desire. However, when we're talking about those basic needs being fulfilled, that's often sort of a different energy that comes in to allow us to receive. That's a survival energy, which is a little bit different than desires being fulfilled. Yeah,
Absolutely. I think I know Linda has her hand raised, and I think there was a question from Randy in the chat as well. But Linda, we'll go to you first, and then we'll answer Randy's question in the chat as well.
Hi, Beth.
Hi.
My question is this. Hi.
Good
how
to
are
see you. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Hi.
It's cold here today. Ugh. Okay. So, how do you bring your conscious and your subconscious mind together, still disentangle yourself and still stay on the frequency of your desires?
Yeah, it's holding a lot simultaneously, right? So the first thing you do is you allow source to be the container. Allow that source energy to be the container, to be the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, and to hold that frequency of your desire while you traverse the material and the conversation and the unwinding. Does that make sense?
Yes, but how do you get there?
How do you get there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go into meditation, connect with source energy, and allow that energy and that meditation to take you in deep inside yourself and inquire, the parts that are involved in this decision making, please,
Come forward.
Come forward. Yeah. And tell me how you feel about it. Tell me where there might be a part of you that is, what you're reluctant. Why are you reluctant? What's going on, and then help them work it through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. So now we have a process. We know how to do it. All right. Randy's question was, he says, I'm not able to use command as any part of my invocation. I think it's a question. Is he able to use command as any part of his invocation?
Are you?
I don't always use command.
Can you clarify? Yeah. Can you I also see like matrix healing. It's not my way. Altruism is my way. So get is not a sync.
Hi, Randy.
Hi. Thank you for your consideration. That's just one example as Matrix uses. Now I command Merlin.
Oh, did they use the word? They use the word command in Matrix healing. Is that what you're saying? And that doesn't resonate with you?
Yeah, that path never works for me for some reason.
Okay.
I don't like the word command.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never been my word either. I like to say request or, or I may
humbly.
humbly, you can say humbly, or I may not even use wording, or I might say something, just imagery, or I might say something like, this is what I'm calling into my life now, please help and support this in the highest and best way. And say my thanks. And, I do think that word command is very closely linked to a lot of people for the word demand, which is different. But even so, even with understanding the difference myself, it's never really been my word. So I totally get it. So just find what word works for you. And I would say that, when working with energy, always intention. Intention is always even more the energy with which we use, to ask for is more important than the word, because you can talk to 5 different people and they're going to have 5 different perspectives on the word command, or most any word. So the energy we come with, that's why we choose the words we do often. And we're very limited as far as words go in the human language, so choose the energy that works for you, that feels good to you, feels in alignment with what feels good to you.
Thank you so much. And a quick share.
Yeah.
I come from tangential altruism in a lot of my conversations. And one reason is because otherwise we're going to talk about my pain. And this is another way to be and one of the things I've learned about tangential altruism is it makes narcissism obvious right away because it's such a stark contrast. So that's the blessing in tangential altruism.
Awesome. Thank you, Randy. What's going on with your screen?
Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, we're seeing Beth upside down, and
I know.
And flashing. Yeah.
I saw that too before.
Yeah. So just turn off your video and turn it back on. It should be fine. Right? We talked about that the other day on one of the calls. Thank you, Randy. for me as well, commanding I don't like, because but also when I'm asking, I'm not begging, it's like when you're talking to source, the universe, creator, God is, whoever you're working with. I do like the word, saying, like Beth was saying, please support this desire, this wish, this intention, and thank you, right? And just saying thank you for being with me. I always say thank you for being with me. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for supporting me in this desire, right? And so that's a different energy than I command this energy to bring me this. Like, I mean, I know. I don't like commanding anything or anybody or energy, even though I know the logic behind it. But when we're coming from the heart space, like you are, Randy, right? Altruism and the heart space, of course, it's going to be more gentle, and it's going to be more respectful, and it's going to be more how you would want to be treated, right? How you would want to be spoken to. And that's how I like to look at it. Would I like to be talked to like that? No. Right. So I'm going to talk to the universe the way I would like to be talked to. Hopefully that makes sense. And it's a nice way, of course. Nice, gentle, respectful, kind, right?
Well, I think that the use of the word command really, when people are utilizing it, the intention is to really take ownership of yourself as a co-creator. You can command because you are co-creating, you're commanding, right? So that's the intention behind it, is really owning that I am part of creation and I am calling this in. So, so I think it's important to, yes, begging is not, always the place you want to come from, just because it's a minimization of who you are as a co-creator, right? But also, and also, just watch that in general. We don't want to we don't want to come from this place of like, please give me, this small place either, right? So we want to be respectful, and we want to also be in a place of honoring that as part of creation, and that I am one with everything. This is what I am calling forth, because I believe that it's for my highest and best good at this time. Please support this in whatever way is for my highest and best good. And sometimes I'll even say, like, and if it's not, please show me, why. Show me what I might be missing, so that I can better understand and sort of adjust the course of my asking.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a petition, but it's a petition from a respectful, equal place, right? You're working with the universe, the energies, etc. Working with in what's the word, in co-creation, right? And so it's a different energy than begging or forcing or commanding or demanding or anything else. It's like we're working together, right? Co-creating our realities together, right? For our highest and best good, for ourselves and for others. And sometimes our mind does not know what is for our highest and best good, right? So that's why people always add this or something better, right? Or, universe, if this is not the right thing for me, like you're saying, well, show me what is better for me, right?
Get is a limiting proclamation.
Get is a limiting preoccupation.
Yeah.
And it's not about getting, it's about experiencing, right?
About receiving.
Yes, we're talking about receiving. It's about receiving.
We're talking about receiving. Right. And I saw the word petition up there. I personally would even watch the word petition because of its connotations. Who are you petitioning to? Why do you need a petition? Why do you need to petition? A petition, you have to do a certain amount of work for. The whole idea behind the co-creation is you don't have to do any work. I mean, you might need to clear your own stuff out, right, in order to allow it to come, but you are a part of the rest of the energy here. So really owning that. And if something is not filtering through, then there's something to shift within yourself to allow that flow to happen. And that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. That means that there is something that within you is not quite in alignment to allow that receiving through within yourself, right? Aligning the inner parts of the inner self. And the other aspect that I want to just talk about briefly, because I know that we're already kind of getting on here, and this is part of what will be included in the course should you choose to participate, and that is that we have energy within us that intrinsically already has. It doesn't have to go into a place of receiving, right? This is the way in which some of the like divine masculine manifests within our body, right? Our skeletal system is a good example of that. Like, we don't have to ask it to be in alignment. It just is. And it provides the structure for the rest of our body to flow, right? The rest of the form to take place. So we have structure and we have form. That's the way creation works. And in this course, I'll be bringing in these two aspects and how they work synergistically together. And so being in alignment with how that manifests in our body allows energy to come in, because this is the place that I was talking about, survival, right? There is a certain place where it's already all happened. It's already all happening, and sinking into and dropping into that truth, right, allows it to be. Knowing that it already is allows it to be. So we got to kind of, that takes us outside of the mind and into a place of embodiment. You don't have to ask your autonomic nervous system to make you breathe. You just do that. Don't make your heart beat. That just happens. So part of it is being able to drop into these aspects that just are, and then the flow can happen. So that's the trust in the structure of the universe. Does that make sense to everybody? That's part of being able to receive. That's part of the receiving process, is trusting that there is support for it.
Yeah. And I think trust is a big piece. When we were talking to Layla earlier.
Piece too. Yeah.
Sorry?
It plays on that safety piece that we mentioned at the beginning as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of brings us full circle and why safety is so important.
Yeah. Because I remember thinking when Layla was speaking, it's like, does she not trust her own desires anymore? Does she not trust herself and her desires, right? So it's something to look at. Because sometimes we have those feelings where we go into doubt, we go into fear, we go into not trusting ourselves, because like, okay, I asked for this, none of it worked out, right? So then we go into that. It's like, it's like, I don't know what to ask for anymore. I don't know what I want anymore. I don't know. Right. So that's the mind, of course. Right. So, but I like what you just said about just dropping into that place, knowing that everything is already happening and just being. And that place of being is the place of allowing. And when you're just being, not trying to figure anything out, it's like you can breathe. Right. It's like it gives you that space to then actually receive, because before that you're not really receiving, because you're thinking, worrying, fretting, all that wonderful stuff, right? But you're not really receiving. So going into stillness, going into yourself, into that space, is going to help you to receive more, right?
Getting to that place of safety is going to allow for that to happen.
Yes. Exactly. And so, again, that whole safety piece, there is a little bit of work to be done to feel safe, right? Because we don't feel safe.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I'm trying to be nice about it. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit. But absolutely. And so, you might want to ask yourself, where am I not feeling safe to receive? Like, what part of me? So I'll be honest, I don't like the whole parts piece. There's this part of me, that part of me, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, okay, what part of me does not feel safe to receive, right? And even when you ask that question, and you take a breath, right? So you're willing to receive, you take a breath, see what shows up, right? It might be my 5-year-old self, my 6-year-old self that is still not feeling safe to receive. My 8-year-old self, it could be.
Wouldn't that be different parts of you? I'm curious why you don't like the idea of different
Well, I don't think that's a part of me. I think that's just me at different times.
It is, but it's also you that has a different identification with the self than the present conscious part of you does, right? Do you like a different description? I mean, a different way of saying it?
I mean, it's the younger aspect of me who didn't know as much as I do now.
Right? It's not always the younger aspect, though. It can be any age or any stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there can be multiple of them. So, and they have completely different wants, needs, desires, and ideas of who they are and how they relate to the world. Because your 5-year-old self that's stuck in that perspective does not see things the way that you do now. But even your 40-year-old self,
Yeah,
that might have an attachment or a sticky point, does not see things as your current self does. And that goes for all of us.
yeah, that's
Right.
true.
So
Yeah,
that's why we
absolutely.
call it parts work, is because you can call it aspects, right? Different aspects of the self.
So Layla said, when I asked that question inside, if I receive something somewhere else, something will be taken away or lost. So, that's not true, but I get it, that's how a part of you is feeling, right? So a part of her is feeling that if she receives this, she's going to lose something else, or she's not going to get something else. So there's that lack of this or that, right?
I would say follow that. That's a belief. Follow it and find out where it comes from. Okay, so if you receive something somewhere else, something will be taken away or lost. So following that to find out where that came from, it's some interaction, some association, or some observation, possibly repetitive, right? And then beginning to disentangle that with that part of yourself that's holding that as truth, even though the whole of you, right, knows that that's not true. That part of you does not know that. And so we have to work with the consciousness of where that part is at, and in that that's true for it, in order to unwind that. And you can even ask it what would be taken away or lost, because it may be something very specific. Quite often it is. Yeah. Yeah. And bring in some understanding too, that there's room for all everything, all aspects and all parts. So there's a room for this to be here and this to be here, right? So there's the whole belief that you're sharing is like a limitation on what you can have. It's only so much, because you got to, if one comes, you got to take another one out. So that's one aspect you want to work with and shift too.
But yes, I'm glad you asked that question. Either, yeah, exactly, the either or. But what about both? What about and? and?
Mm-hmm.
Can you add more to your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Layla. That was great. Because sometimes we don't get that answer or that awareness until we ask ourselves the question, right? So good job. All right, so let's take a moment and talk about the packages, and then we will do the process. Hold on, let me just share my screen. One second. Let me share my screen from. Okay, so Beth has 2 packages that are available: the Art of Receiving, which is a 3-week course, and the package B is the 3-week course plus a 60-minute personal session with Beth. So what is involved in the course, The Art of Receiving? Beth.
Yeah.
I think it starts next week.
Yes, it starts next week. So the first week we are working with clearing out. We're going to work with the different ways that we experience. You can say blocks or sticky points, however that works with you. Finding what those are, right, in terms of your relationship with receiving, and then going in and connecting with what parts of you are holding those and helping those parts to unwind so that they can all kind of get on the same page, right? And that might mean that what you're desiring to receive, the desire might actually change a little bit as you come into alignment with your inner parts, as some are heard that haven't been heard, and you're able to unwind that. And there may be not a compromise, but it coming together. That desire might shift that you're looking for. And it will shift in a way that feels more whole and complete. You'll feel more embodied about it. Right? It won't feel like such a push, like a push to achieve. It will feel more like, oh yeah, like I want this with my heart's desire. Okay. The other thing that we're going to start doing, that we're going to do every day, is we're going to practice receiving. So we're going to go through some of the common beliefs that are blocking the receiving also in this first week, releasing them. Things like around worthiness or around good enough or success and failure, these sort of paradigms as far as receiving goes. And then every morning at my time, Pacific time, 9:30, I'm going to send everyone unconditional love. And so this works in a twofold process. One way is that this puts you in a position of receiving, right? So automatically you're practicing receiving, which practice in everything, not just, riding a bike or whatever, like we practice. So this gives you an opportunity to practice. It also gives you an opportunity to be in a different energy with receiving, right? So that those places that you have been shifting, or you've been questioning whether you're worthy of receiving, or you're every day at this time, I'm receiving unconditional love. And I suggest that during that time, you actually take a moment to envision your desires, right? And especially as we're clearing stuff and you're getting more clarity on that desire, take that time as like a manifestation time. Write your affirmations, write your clarity, even draw out your desires. Whichever way you want to do it. You can build a vision board and stare at the vision board during that time, however you want to do it, but allow that to be a time where you are in practice of receiving, without, you don't have to have a huge expectation. Just, I'm practicing receiving, and this is my desire, and I'm going to see how that unfolds. Right. So that'll be happening, that start at the beginning and be happening every day.
Awesome. And then week 2?
Yeah. And so week 2, we're going to work with some of what I mentioned in the balance between the masculine and the feminine energy in the body, and really learning to lean into the divine masculine, that divine structure that's already provided. And what this does is this allows for the relaxation of the inner knowing. And this is the place where we get to go through another layer of anywhere that is still questioning worth of having things, worth of, seeing things work out the way that is desired. Because it's really not a question of worth. It's really a question of leaning into that stability and that structure that's already there. Because as much as it's already there within your own body, it's already here within the earth. It's already here within creation. And we've been so out of balance for so long, right? Even in our definition of masculine energy, we've distorted masculine energy, and there's all this push for divine feminine now. And so it's very out of balance, but really in the universe, it's in balance. And that divine masculine provides the structure so that the form of the feminine can take place. So we're working with that balance, finding it in our body, knowing it's in creation, and receiving from there. Week 3, and by the way, we're still doing every day at the same time, practicing receiving your desires coming into fruition. Okay. And week 3 is going to be all about manifesting. It's all about just putting all of the energy from all the work that you've done to get all of your inner world in alignment and harmony, and now work toward this manifestation. You got your clarity on your desires, you got your inner world in alignment, and now work on the manifestation. So that whole week will be dedicated to that manifestation process.
Awesome. So that's the 3-week course. And then of course, package B is the course plus a 60-minute private session with Beth. So what does that look like with you, Beth, the private session?
The private session focuses on bringing more harmony and balance between the conscious and unconscious parts of yourself, and bringing healing and wholeness to any parts that are wounded, that are not fully on board with where you would like to be consciously, and being able to integrate that into wholeness, so that you can, in this case, we're focusing more on, getting to that place of receiving more deeply. So what, again, if you don't like the word block, what sticky points are in the way specifically for you in your receiving? Where are those sitting in your subconscious mind? Where are those sitting within your inner world? And let's work on bringing them into harmony and alignment.
Yep, absolutely. There's some wonderful testimonials that you can all look at on the page as well. And of course, like I said before, there are 2- and 3-part payment plans available. And please use if you're part of the inner circle, the free or VIP, please use your gift code, the 10% or 25% gift code as well for either package. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. So let's see, where was I now? I know there was, hold on one sec. Let me bring my Zoom back. Okay. What time will the course start in England? What time did we say it's going to start? What time is it at?
It starts at 5 p.m. my time. So you'll have to use the time conversion to figure that out. I think you have 8 or 9 hours difference, but you just have to use a time converter. Starts at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So any other questions? Currently the time difference is 7 hours, but we'll be going to 8 p.m. at some point. Yeah. Right now it's 7 hours difference.
Yeah.
I know, it's like this week and then next week, it's like we'll go back to our regularly scheduled times. It's like I'm still trying to, it's only 1 hour difference right now between Europe and North America, but it's like it's confusing me to no end.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to my regular 6 hours. For me, for East Coast, and that makes sense for me. So it's like 5 hours. Like, I don't know what time it is anymore. Silly, I know, it's really silly, but anyway, we get so used to a certain way. All right, so I know that Beth, you wanted to do a process or a guided visualization today.
We can do. We still have time.
Yeah. How long is it?
Well, we can make it short. We could do just a few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. We're good on time. So yeah, we're good.
Okay. So if everybody wants to just start by closing your eyes, focusing on your breath. With each inhale, calling in all the parts and pieces of yourself that are out there thinking about different things, doing different things, focusing on what you were just doing or about to do. Bring them all into present time and present space. And then on your exhale, letting go and releasing anything that is not serving your highest and best good at this time. And right above you, way above you, actually, envision that infinite source point of energy in a waterfall of white light pouring down through your pillar of light in through the top of your head and all the way down your body into the center of the earth. Meet with the beautiful soul of the planet at the center of the earth. And then bring her energy back up through your body. Allow it to enter up through the pelvic bowl and move up through your central channel, pooling at the heart, pooling at the head, and pouring back down into the earth. Allow this energy to cycle through a few times, in from the bottom, the center of the earth, and up and out through the heart and the head. Allowing this pillar of light to continue to flow from source consciousness simultaneously. And for both of these energies to begin to form a ball of light around your body. Pull your consciousness in through your third eye to the center of your head. And move it down to your heart center. And from this heart space, ask to be taken to your inner guide. Your inner guide is an aspect of your being that emanates straight from your soul, is within your psyche. This inner guide may show up as just looking like you. It may be more of a sense of an energy than physically seeing. Some people see it as like a little fairy kind of energy. There is no right or wrong way. Allow this inner guide to take you to a special castle, a special crystal castle. And as you enter into this special crystal castle that's made just for you, you call forth the different aspects of yourself, the different ages and stages of yourself that are ready to be more seen, more known by your whole self. See them, witness them, honor them as parts of you. They are not separate, though they have been held separate. Though they may feel differently, though they may see things differently. They may have different wants, needs, desires, and they may feel more or less safe than you currently do now. So allow them to come forward as much as they feel comfortable with right now. And your goal right now is just to begin to establish the contact so that you can build the trust with these different parts of yourself that have been held separately. So all may begin to come into wholeness and eventually manifest from there. Acknowledging each of them for their uniqueness, for where they are at in their process. And letting each and every one of them know that you are honored to be a part of this process with them. And that your goal is to work towards seeing them more, understanding them more, and working together. And that this special crystal castle is just for them. It is their sacred place, sacred, safe place to explore and expand, and for you to get to know each other. And allow that beautiful source energy, that white energy from source, to pour in through the top of the crystal castle and move through the entire castle, filling it with unconditional love and all the parts of you with unconditional love. Let all the parts know that they are welcome to be here or come here at any time, and that you will be back to visit and communicate and integrate. And thank them for their presence and for their communication. And when you're ready, allow your inner guide to take your hand and help you to travel back to your heart center. From this space within your heart center, traveling back up to the center of your head and out your third eye. Bringing your consciousness back into the center of your body. Again, feeling that pillar of light from source all the way through your body into the center of the earth. And feeling that earth energy coming up through the pelvic bowl, through the heart, through the head, and back down into the earth. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Beautiful. Thank you. I wasn't quite ready to open my eyes. I'm still not able to really talk that well. But how was that process for all of you? Did you perceive your inner guide? What did you perceive? For me, my inner guide was it was an energy, and it was this white aquamarine-ish, energy. It was so gentle and peaceful but very uplifting. Linda says, thank you, that was good. Oh, good. Glad you enjoyed it. And I'm still feeling a lot of energy in my third eye still, and I'm still feeling it all around me. So just taking a few more deep breaths. Anybody else have any? Layla, go ahead.
I'll share. My inner guide was a 4-year-old version of me. very playful. And the first thing that happened in the meditation was that this lady that I had been working with and doing some energy work with yesterday I brought her in, talk about enmeshment. Oh, this would be really good for her. Da, 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 da. And I was like, oh, there you go. There's the enmeshment. Like, I'm responsible for her. And so then I recentered, and then kind of crouching in the corner, only one part showed up, and she was like 2, and she was like this, defending against being hit by like my dad, but I don't remember or really even believe my dad did that, but maybe it was just an energetic reaction to his energy or something. That's what happened. I'd share.
Wow.
It sounds like there's some good material in there. And oftentimes when we start to do the inner work, we come up against the parts of our consciousness that have been waiting to expand. And we come up against what is real and what is unreal. That makes sense. So the thing about your dad, right? Because it feels unreal, right? We're stepping into a part of the consciousness where repression and suppression happen. And we automatically assume it's unreal because it doesn't have the same feeling that things do in our conscious reality. So just sitting with what that means to you, if that makes sense. I think you have a good amount of material to unwind and unpack. So I think you do very well with some extended one-on-one time. If that sounds interesting to you, then reach out to me. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you, Leila. Colleen says it was a needed integration. Thank you. And Joy says, thank you. Very beautiful energy and experience. All my parts felt the freedom to play again and have fun. Oh, that's nice. Good, Joy. Thank you. Manisha says, thank you for such a beautiful process, Beth. I too didn't want to open my eyes and come back. Very powerful. Got a message. Trust in the process of life and surrender. Oh, good. Beautiful.
You guys can come back there, anytime. That's the first establishment, right, of integrating those connections.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, powerful process. You can go back again, of course, watch the replay, listen to all the wisdom, and then do the process again and see what shows up now, right? It'll be different each time, so play with it. And of course, if you'd like to work with Beth, you can get package A for the 3-week course, or package B where you get to work with her one-on-one. And I have to say, when Beth was talking about her personal sessions, she was downplaying it quite a bit, because when I had my personal session with Beth, it was amazing. I mean, so much shifted during that session. Yeah, I can't even describe all the energetics of it, but it was a lot of energetic shifting and moving of energy. It wasn't just talk. We hardly talked. I think it was more about the moving and shifting of energies and bringing in frequencies, etc. That yeah, so there was a lot that can happen in a session for sure. So please do take a look at both those packages, and the 2- and 3-part payment plans available, as well as use your 10% or 25% gift code if you're in the inner circle. And if you're not, why not? Why are you not in the inner circle, especially the free version, right? Yeah, why not? All right, so Beth, any last words of wisdom for us before we go today?
Self-love, be compassionate and kind towards yourself, and self-love. We're all on the journey, and we're all at different stages. Take a beat, take a moment for self-love whenever you think of it.
Yes, absolutely. Self-love, self-care, self-nurturing, play. Please, please, please do all of that and more, because you're worth it. And the whole worthy, deserving piece, I know we didn't really talk about it too much, but you are worth it. Whatever it is that you don't think you're worthy of, you are. So that's also going to be covered in the course as well. So I'm sure Beth has a lot of more information to say about that during the program. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here receiving. Good. Yes, receive, receive, receive. Open your heart and receive. Wonderful. Thank you. All right, everyone. So thank you for all your questions, comments, and feedback. And Beth, thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful show. So much wisdom, wonderful process. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health.
Love you, Alara. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you. Love you too. Sending you all much love and blessings. Bye for now.